It's Thanksgiving. Let's talk about pilgrims a bit. Most of us have only a very vague conception about the pilgrims. They came to America fleeing religious persecution, and they wore buckles on their hats. And that general image, religious guy with a buckled hat, probably also comes up when you think of the Puritans. Are they the same? Not quite. Interestingly, you could say in one way they're extremely similar, and the other way they're nearly opposite. So what made pilgrims and Puritans different? Historically, though, both the pilgrims and Puritans were offshoots of the Church of England. You may know the Church of England is what Henry VIII started because he couldn't get a Catholic divorce. There was actually his son, Edward VI, that really formed the Church of England into an actually theologically Protestant body, as opposed to Henry VIII's Catholicism without the Pope. The Church of England was always contentious within factions. You had dedicated Protestant reformers and people who wanted to go back to being Catholic trying to be in the same church, and you end up getting some kind of awkwardly in the middle situation, a vaguely Catholic-like church structure with mostly Protestant beliefs. This didn't fit too well with everybody, and both the Puritans and the Pilgrims were on the outside. Both groups were strongly Protestant, and they felt that the Church of England was off-base in adopting any Catholic structure of theology. Where they were different was in what they wanted to do about it. The Pilgrims were what were called separatists in England, sometimes also called dissenters, so that's the broader term. Not that they wanted to form a new country as separatists, but that they wanted to separate from the Church of England. They thought it was corrupt, and good Christians should step away from its corruption. Plant churches more firmly rooted in the gospel, that they should be separatist. Now, Puritans were different in that they also thought that the Church of England was corrupt, but they thought that it also ought to be fixed, more specifically purified from within, operating inside the church structure. That's where they got the name. The Puritans were those who wanted to purify the church. They saw the church as more of a nationalist way, the Church of England as well the Church of England, a unified national structure. The separationists, the Pilgrims, were Congregationalists. They believed in a more bottom-up method of church organization based on, you guessed it, individual congregations. Both Puritans and separatists were oppressed by the establishment Church of England, facing fines, imprisonment, and in rare cases execution. The separatists tended to have a rougher time of it most of the time. So the Pilgrims left England. They actually moved to Holland originally in the Netherlands, and then across the sea to America, looking to practice Christianity as they saw best, follow the Bible free from the confines of the governmental church. So how did the Puritans come in then? In 1629, not long after the Pilgrims landed in 1620, a charter was issued for the Massachusetts Bay Colony, this being an actual royal charter. The Pilgrims, separatists, had founded Plymouth Colony without any authorization. The Puritans, who had become the main immigrants to the Massachusetts Bay Colony, were doing so within the established system, and that's most of the difference between them. Of course, Puritans were definitely aware that they being an ocean away from the Church of England let them have a freer hand at following their own doctrine than they would back home, and you could argue that they were a bit like unofficially separationists, but they're the belief in a more centralized and established church. The Pilgrims, a decentralized and from the ground up church. They've got plenty of similarities in belief and history, and the Plymouth Colony would eventually be incorporated into Massachusetts Bay, but Pilgrim and Puritan isn't quite exactly the same thing. So now you're well equipped to impress everyone by being technically correct at your family dinner. Happy Thanksgiving!